Welcome. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at this Reolink RLC-822A 4K security camera. So if you find this video helpful and you want to purchase one of these, I'll put a link to it in the description on Amazon. And if you use that link, it helps me out a little bit and doesn't cost you anything extra. So I do want to disclose that I have received a camera from Reolink previously, but I purchased this with my own money, and I haven't been in contact with Reolink for this video. So I have a similar kind of camera setup right now where I'm going to put this, but it's a couple years old and things have changed. So I was looking for a camera with some different features. I wanted the person detection, and this has that. But let's look at a quick look at some of the features. So it has a smart alarm with person vehicle detection, 24/7 or motion recording. It has a 3x optical zoom. So I don't know how useful that'll be for me where I'm putting it, but I wanted to try that out. So I did get the one with the optical zoom, and it has PoE, so that's power over Ethernet. So this is powered with the Ethernet port, and I'll discuss that a little more. It has microSD card slot, IP66 waterproof, easy remote access. So let me get this open. Okay, so here we have a sticker. So here's a mounting template. This looks like a waterproof guide. So this talks about how to waterproof the Ethernet connection, and this probably is standard to every other outdoor security camera I've used. Over that, here's a quick start guide. So it talks about the contents. Here's a camera. There's camera introduction. We have the mount, metal case, lens, infrared lights, daylight sensor, built-in mic, waterproof lid, network connection, reset. It says press and hold for 10 seconds to restore the camera to factory settings, and power port. So you can run this off a power transformer. And here's the power connection diagram, and I will go over that. And then we have an app you can download, and it does get powered with 12-volt DC adapter or PoE. And here's some mounting tips. You can pause and read through those. And this is how to mount it to the plate, and there's some troubleshooting. So it comes with an Ethernet cable. Now typically you'll run your own cable because you'll run a cable from your network equipment to the camera location. I'll pull this out. I'll pull the camera out. Waterproof connection, mounting hardware, and the camera. So this is pretty hefty feeling. Let me pull this off. So you're going to mount this plate, and then this will rotate on like so. So once you have it mounted, you can rotate this to the position you want, and you can tilt this up and down. Looks like if I tilt it forward a little bit, we have the micro SD card slot there. Of course, it has plastic over the lens to protect it in shipping. So this cord can come out the back, or you can have it go in a wall. So here we have the reset button, DC power, and Ethernet. So if you're running power over Ethernet, you don't need this. So let me do a little overview of how you can hook this up. So one option is to use what's called a PoE injector. So on this device, we have LAN and PoE. So we would plug an Ethernet cable into PoE, and this would typically maybe be 50 foot long or so. It will run from your network equipment to your camera, and then you plug that in the Ethernet here, and then the LAN here connects into your router or switch. So the nice thing about this is you run one cable and it does your power and your network for your camera. So what this does is this adds power to that network cable. So this works well for one or two cameras, but if you're going to have multiple cameras, there's a better option, and that is a PoE switch like this. And I do want to say the PoE switch was given to me for a previous video by Ingenious, but they have no association with this video, and also the injector too. So with this, you run your Ethernet from the camera to this switch, and the switch powers the camera and provides network. So this makes for a very clean setup. So if you have lots of cameras, you just run these cables to your camera locations, and it does all of the power, all of the networking. So the other option would be where you plug a power adapter in. This is not the right one, but you plug a power adapter into every camera. So I don't know that this is the most ideal. I rarely use this technique because it's just, you have all this stuff to deal with. It makes much more sense to just use a PoE injector, but that can be useful for testing. So for my testing right here, I'll just use the PoE injector, and I'll plug that into my switch. So I'm going to head over to my iPad and we'll get this set up. Okay, so I'm on my iPad. You could do this on an iPhone or an Android phone too, and you'll want to search for the Reolink app. I already have it installed, so hit open. So I'll be skipping through some of the steps here. So I have already set up cameras on this, but when you go into the app, if you need to create accounts or give it permissions, you may need to do some of those things that you'll not see in this video. So I'll back out of this a little bit. I'll go to the plus in the upper right, and it's going to say scan the QR code on the device. So I'll do that. That's on the back side. So it says connecting to your device. So I wasn't sure if I needed to plug it in yet, but it is looking for it, so I will plug it in. And it says make sure your device is powered, so this should be powering up now. So I'll give that a second and then I'll retry this. Okay, I can hear the optical zoom lens in there, so it is powering on. So I'll hit retry. Okay, it says first step, create a device password. So I'll do that. I'll hit next. It says name your device. So this is going to be going at my front door, so I'll just name it front door. I'll hit next. It says initialization finished. I'll hit done, and I'll tap on the camera. So that was incredibly easy to set up. So I'll pull off the blue So now we can get a little better view. Let's see if I can make this bigger. There we go. Okay, now I assume to zoom in, I just pinch and zoom. Oh, okay. So on the bottom right there is an icon. I'll use it, and this will zoom in. So I can pinch and zoom, but that's going to be doing a digital zoom, and I want an optical zoom. So there's an optical zoom. So I'll say on that zoom, it seems kind of slow and it is kind of loud. I say loud in that you can hear it. If you had this in the corner at your retail shop and maybe had some background music playing, someone might not hear this, but if it's a very quiet location, someone could potentially hear it. Okay, so that's the basic setup. I'm going to go install this. I'm not going to film that, but I'll explain it real quick. I'm going to take this plate, I'm going to mount it up. I have an Ethernet cable at the location, so I'm going to plug it in, and then it will just work. So I'll do that, and then we'll come back to the app and explore it a little bit. One more step before I install it, though, is I want to install a microSD card. So you just pull this up. I found it's helpful to take the cord and actually push it in here as you're tilting it up. Then I'll take this plate off. I'm using a number 1 screwdriver. I think that's probably the right size. Now, I'm not going over all of the security aspects of using a camera like this. Certainly someone could just unscrew this or pull the card out. So you'll need to take those things into consideration independently. So the card I'm going to be using is this Samsung Pro Endurance 128GB microSD card. So a card like this is ideal for a security camera. If you don't go with this specific card, I would recommend some other high endurance card. I've used many different kinds from different brands. So it looks like the label is going to be facing away from the camera lens, and it will kind of click in place. Then I'll replace the cover. So a microSD card is not required, but I do like to use them. You can also record this to a network video recorder. You can also record it to a cloud. Even a network attached storage device like a Synology can be used as a network video recorder. Okay, so I'll go get this installed now. Okay, so I'm back at the app now. I have the camera installed, and the height of the camera is about the top of a doorway. Now I'm actually recording this a couple months later, so I've been using it for a bit. But let's do a little overview of the interface. So if you have multiple cameras, it will show up here. I can tap on the camera to view it. So at the bottom we have clip. I can tap that and it will zoom in on a portion of it. I can move that around. I can zoom in and out. Then we have PTZ. So this isn't a PTZ camera, but we can zoom or focus. So I'll zoom in here. I'll do a full zoom. So this is the full zoom on this. It is autofocusing, there we go. So you can see in my application of this, I don't know how useful this zoom is. Now if I had the camera pointing out more, or I could say zoom in on the street or something, that might be useful. Now sometimes I move cameras around, so if this goes to another part of my property, I may be able to take a little bit more advantage of that zoom. But for this application, for my purposes, it's not doing a whole lot for me. So I'll zoom that back out, and then you can manually focus also. And then next to that we have playback. So I have that SD card in there. It has been recording motion. So there's a little person down here. That's because I have the motion detection turned on to watch for people. Now on the bottom left here, I can tap on that little play symbol, and there's a filter here. So it's looking for different types of motion. So I only have person motion to turn on. So if I actually tap that, it makes it disappear. But let's look at the last one here. This is me walking into the house earlier today. And you can see the timeline scrolling across, or the cursor head, I guess you'd call it. If you look at the top center of the screen, my feet are there, and I'll start walking towards the door in just a minute. But it was able to pick up motion detection based upon my feet there. And now I'm walking towards the door. And I'm walking in. Let me back up a little bit. And I'll pause it. So we have low and high mode. Let's look for clear. Let's see if this will give us better quality. Okay, so this is the high-res version. So I didn't explain that clearly. But we have the icons here. We have play. We have audio, because this does have a microphone in it. We can take a snapshot or record video. Of course, this is already a recorded video. Then we have this high here, and this is your quality level. So we have clear is high quality, and fluent is lower quality. So fluent is something you might use over a cellular connection that's spotty. And then on the right there we have the rotate to 90 degrees. So that's the recorded video. Now there's a calendar here. If I tap on the date, it'll bring a calendar up. I think if I go to yesterday towards the end of the day, I had a package delivered. So here is a delivery person. I'm going to blur their face out because I don't have permission for them to use their image. So this is using infrared night vision. It kind of washed out their face. but I could have probably paused there and seen a pretty good image of their face. So what this is doing is this is emitting the infrared light, and then it's able to pick that up. So if you looked out the door right now, this area would be nearly completely dark. So that was the view mode. Let's look through the settings a little bit. I'll click on the gear in the upper right. So if I tap on front door here, it has the device info. A couple things to point out. You can go to network and get the IP address and then type that into a web browser, and there's a web interface for this camera, and you can use a lot of these same features there. Below that you have update device. You can tap that when you first get it and make sure the firmware is up to date. I have it set to update automatically, which I think was the default. So I'll go back a page, then we have display. So this is going to have different settings. So the first two are flip vertical and horizontal. So if you have this mounted in certain orientations and you need to flip the image, you can do that there. And we have a quality level. So there's two quality types here. You have clear and fluent, like we saw on that other page. And clear is going to be your higher quality, and fluent is going to be your lower quality. And then for each of those modes, you can set the resolution, frame rate, and max bit rate. But for like the fluent, I think the resolution is probably going to max out at 640 by 360. So you can see the resolutions I have here. Now if we go on the clear, we can go as low as 2304 by 1296. So on clear, you're going to have higher end settings than the fluent. And that fluent is for things like cellular connections, where you're displaying this on a phone. And then we have frame rate mode, and this has auto or constant. So you can set that here. So I have it set to auto, and it says it's not good for fast moving objects. So I don't want to tell people how to configure their camera. As I'm showing you these settings, you'll want to test them in your own situation and see what works best for you. We have anti-flicker. In the US, you're going to set that to 60 Hertz. In Europe, you're going to set that to 50 typically. Day and night mode, that's auto. So that's for setting when the infrared light comes on. We have a brightness setting. This is camera name, date, watermark. So these are things displaying on the screen, so you can move the position of those. Here we have privacy mask. So in the upper right, I have my neighbor's garage there. If I wanted to make that private, I could block that out like so. Now in my situations, that's so far away, I can't really discern what's going on at my neighbor's house. But this is nice if you have this camera, say, in a backyard and it's pointing at your neighbor's window or something like that. You can block that out to give your neighbor privacy, because, and that may be to comply with laws, or it may just be the right thing to do. Then we have advanced, and this has the threshold of switching between the black and white and the color mode. So you can change that there. And then we have brightness and shadows. So these are some picture settings. So that was display. Next we have detection alarm. So we have detection zone. So here we're going to create a zone where we don't want to create alerts. So I blocked out the upper right corner. I hit paint and marked that off. That's because I don't want people walking down the street to trigger this. Next we have sensitivity, motion detection. I have this set to 31. It seems to be working for me right now. We can do smart detection, and I have this turned off for vehicle and pet, and I have it turned on for person at 30. So you want to play around with that on your own, because I want this to just detect humans. And we have alarm delay. This is at 0 seconds. So if you had this pointed at a door with a lock on it, and you don't really care if people walk by, but you want to know if someone's actually spending time at that position, then you could turn this on so it only detects people that are lingering. Then we have object size. So we can adjust that here. Then next is camera recording. So I have that turned on, and you'll want to pay careful attention to this if you're wanting to set up motion detection with recording. Then we'll go to schedule. I have alarm, and I have person selected, and I have the whole calendar filled out because I always want to record people at my camera. So on the top here, then we have timer. So timer is just for continuous recording. So if you have a shop and you want to record during the day, throughout the whole day, you would schedule that on here and it will record every minute. And then maybe at night you only want detection. So you would set your daytime hours with your timer, and then at night when you just want motion detection, you would go back to alarm. So that kind of tripped me up when I was first learning these cameras, is that your continuous recording is timer, your event detection recording is alarm. So then we have post-motion record duration. So when it sees a person, it will record through that whole event, and then it will record 15 seconds after that trigger has stopped. And then finally we have overwrite. So when the device storage is full, it will continue overwriting that. After that we have push notifications, so we can turn those on or off. So I have these on my phone. so I get an alert on my phone when it detects motion. You can also set up email alerts, and you can record to FTP. And then below that we have share camera, time lapse, and advanced, and that has user management, time and date, record audio, and infrared lights. So those are some basics of this Reolink camera. I really like the quality of this. I like the ease of setup, and the motion detection has been working very well, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get this camera. So now when I'm away from the home, I can get a notification on my phone, I can tap it, and I can have a live view of my front door. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.